Hey, what's going on, guys? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. We have an exciting video to talk about. This is one that we've done very similarly to other decades, whether they're Lincoln cents, Jefferson nickels, quarters, things like that. And it's time that we talk about, and I didn't add it to the description of this video, but the top three 1990s Lincoln cent varieties that are destined to break out. And the reason why that this is important to talk about is we've seen some trends of other similar coins from the 70s, from the 80s, that have really exploded in popularity and in value. We're going to talk about a few of those standout coins from the 1980s and kind of talk about a few of the 1990s Lincoln cent varieties, which are very plentiful, but it's going to be a list of coins that are actually, quite challenging to find. And quite frankly, they're going to reward you in a big way if you're able to find them. So we're going to talk about these particular coins that I feel like are going to trend in much the same way as some of the previously talked about varieties. Now, what do we talk about when it comes to varieties, right? It's not mint errors, okay? Mint errors, everything done at the mint, off center strikes, things like that, are one time events. Whereas varieties, these are all types of things like doubled dies and repunch mint marks that are hubbed into the working die that'll create many examples of that particular variety. All right, so there's a difference. Errors could be a one of a kind of event. Varieties will be duplicated over and over again until that working die becomes retired or gets taken out of service, if that makes sense. So we're going to talk about these, and these are coins, quite frankly, they could be a little bit underrated in some aspect. People could be not maybe paying as much attention to them, all the while recognizing the rarity of these coins because folks are not really looking for them. So we're going to talk about them. And generally, when we talk about, the top coins of varieties and things like that, they're going to be established cherry pickers guide varieties. Okay, that's one of the big publications out there that talks about various varieties that you can find across all different type coins, including Lincoln cents, which is, quite frankly, the most widely popular series today. So we're going to jump into this here momentarily. I also want to thank our channel sponsor, Whatnot, as well. They are a platform that I'm selling on, and I'm really supplementing all my other revenue streams by selling on this platform. If I need instant cash right now, and I have an overabundance of coins and inventory, then Whatnot is the place to go to when I want to, sell some coins last second. And they are fantastic. They are the fastest growing live social media auction platform today. We do traditionally shows every Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Now's the time to come join. We got a lot of big promotions going here this summer, and you can simply use the QR code that we have on screen. If you sign up under me today, you will receive $15 off your very first item, and it comes off automatically. If you're not digging on the QR code, we'll also have the traditional links down below in the description box and pinned to the comment section of this video. All right, so we're going to go ahead and jump in. Now, here are the two innovating coins that have really blown up in popularity since about 2020. Okay, kind of think about the beginning of the pandemic, and there were a few coins that were, just kind of like sitting there, like, hey, look at me, I'm a pretty big opportunity here. And, unfortunately, it took the pandemic to really, really shine a spotlight on these coins. Okay, the first one is the 1983 Lincoln cent doubled die reverse. This is the FS801. This has the craziest reverse doubling that you will ever encounter on a Lincoln cent, and quite possibly one of the best doubled dies, bar none, in U.S. type coin collecting today. The other one that has really blown up, and when I tell you blown up, these coins at one point were very affordable to obtain raw. You could find, that most examples you could have obtained for between $50 and $100 prior to 2020. They're not quite like that anymore, as these prices have 3x to 4x in value just for ungraded examples. Okay, so the other big 1980s variety is the 1984 doubled ear. It is a doubled die obverse. It's the FS101, and that particular coin right there has really blown up here in the last few years. Graded examples, raw examples, top pop examples, they have all become very, very expensive. And it really doesn't matter if it's the 83 or the 84. They're going to be coins that will continue to grow in popularity and value. Have they capped off as far as value-wise? Maybe for now. But, that could all move, back up at some point in the future. But we did see a ton of growth between both of these coins here. And they kind of have modeled the way for other potential breakout stars, like the top three coins we're going to talk about here in a moment. Here's another one here that will not be on the list. So we have a couple coins that we won't show on this list. And I'll let you know the reason. The 1995 doubled die obverse is not going to be on the top three list, but it is worth mentioning. The big reason why that this one is not on the top list is that it's real simple. Many, many hundreds of thousands of these coins were produced. They are not rare at all. Beautiful gem mid-state 66 examples, whether they're raw or graded, can be had today for a market of about 65 to 80 bucks. So that really has not moved at all. As a matter of fact, some of the prices have dipped a little bit just due to the overabundance of supply into the marketplace. And also the what we call the three-year wide AM trio will not be on the list here. Again, much to the same reasoning as the 1995 DDO FS101 is not on the list, is that these three particular coins, again, not at all rare to find. Now, where the rarity kind of comes into play is going to be the top pop grades. But a lot of these, to this day, can still be found in change. And it doesn't matter where you're at across the country. I have found all three of these on the West Coast, and take a look at them. They were all produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The 1999, of course, is the big star out of the three. It is a little bit more tougher, and it's a coin that will reward you in a little bit bigger fashion compared to the 98 and 2000. And then, of course, we cannot talk about 1990s major varieties without at least talking about the 92 and the 92D close AM. These are, for lack of a better word, kind of like the big jackpot lottery winning coins. And they've always been expensive. So theoretically, they don't need to break out, or they broke out many, many decades ago since their release. That, they don't need to come up on the conversation again. These have been talked about all across the YouTube universe when it comes to coins and varieties. And these are kind of like baked in, like rewarding coins. They reward you in many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And for that reason, I don't see these kind of like breaking out even more. They've kind of like, they've hit their crest in the marketplace, and they're just going to sit there being just really expensive chase pieces for years to come. All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off Blue Ridge Silverhound style by at least throwing in one honorable mention. And this is a coin that, some people do know. Your diehard Lincoln Cent, variety aficionados know about this one quite well, and that's the 1995D FS103 doubled die obverse. This is a true rarity, and this is one that lives in kind of like the folklore of coins that exist and has to kind of compete with the 1995 Philly doubled die obverse. But little do people know that this one is just 100 times more rare than that 95 Philly. And it's one that is not particularly impressive on the doubling. But there's a few areas that you need to pay attention to in order to find this one. And this one And the reason why it's an honorable mention coin is that it is quite valuable. It does have a high value rating in most mid-state grades. I would say from like mid-state 62, 63, and onwards. There's very few of these that have been found circulated. There was actually an instance where a young lady on Facebook, I'll leave her name out of the conversation. She had a field day going through BU rolls of 95D Lincoln cents. I had found a number of these in quantity, had sent out, I think, all of them to PCGS, and a few of them ended up going lost in the mail. It was kind of a big story. I believe this was about 10 years ago. And then while I was around to hear about this, and I actually know the lady, she's a very nice lady and has been in the hobby for many years. It's a coin that certainly has a lot of story to it, and I think what ended up happening with that particular, I guess, find, it really kind of, blew up the lore of the 1995D FS 103. So when we look at this coin, okay, your best doubling is going to be on the words "We and Trust" on the motto, but also on the date as well. Now, we also have to keep in mind that after 1989, the mid-mark was added to the hubs. So they weren't tapped into the working die as we would expect from back in the day. They were all integrated as part of the working hub design, or the master hub design, rather. If you see doubling on the mid-mark like we do here, keep in mind that it is not a repunch mid-mark, but it is also an integrative aspect to the die and all of the other elements. All right. So you're going to see doubling, especially on the 5 of the date. You can see actually some notching on the top right corner of that 5, along with all the other numbers as well. Even the 1 has a little notching, but you're going to see the doubled Denver mid-mark as well. But yeah, some of the best doubling probably on the words "We and Trust" in the motto. Now, of course, grading these at the highest state of preservation is probably your best bet here to get the most amount of money for them. This particular one in the Mid-State 66 red, I talked about this one as a sold item on greatcollections.com. It's sold for nearly $1,700. It's a coin that represents a lot of value across multiple mid-state numerical grades. This one here, if you're able to find, congratulations. This is a great addition to any variety set, and they are quite rare. There's not a whole lot of these out there, and the population and census is really quite low on this. There is that sale right there on Great Collections, $1,687.50, the date being April 13, 2025. Again, this information courtesy of greatcollections.com. And that is your coin in question that did sell here just about a week ago. All right, so coming in at number 3, this is the number 3 coin. The top 3 coins I would say that are destined for some sort of breakout status. This is a particularly rare example, and there are too many of these that exist in mid-state grades. And again, I think it's more of a lack of just awareness. And the fact that, not too many people know about this coin. This is the 1996 Philly Lincoln Memorial Cent doubled die obverse FS 101. And this particular coin that you see here is actually a plate coin on PCGS's website. So they get all the photo credits here. This one, believe it or not, even with some of the corrosion and all that, ended up graded as a mid-state 63 red brown. And that tells you everything you need to know. From what I can see, there's only maybe 1 or 2 examples that actually grade out in mid-state red that have never made it to public auction. And that's important. That kind of helps tell the story here of its rarity and how much of a white whale this coin can be to the right collector. If it's not for the fact that this one is more rare, this one, in all honesty, should be the number 1 coin on the list. But because supply is next to non-existent on this one, we have to keep this one at number 3. So here are a few things to be on the lookout for. The doubling on the word trust, you can actually see some notching on the T, the R, the U. You're going to need some magnification here to look for this one. But you're also going to have some pretty nice doubling on the date as well. All right, so you're going to notice that on the tops of the 9s, you're going to have a really thick, doubled, separated kind of notching status to that. The 6 probably is the best number to look at for the doubling. And it's quite spectacular. I've never owned this coin, and it has been atop my bucket list for, I would say, probably since the turn of the century. It's been a very important coin, and considering that this one right here is 29 years old, there's not a whole lot of opportunity to find some premium examples of this coin. To find that one that could grade maybe a mid-state 65 red, could the time have passed in spite of the fact that nearly or just over 6.6 billion of this particular date was produced by the U.S. Mint, really showcases the disparity between the mintage and its rarity. If only maybe 100 of these examples are known today, compared, percentage-wise, that's quite microscopic. And, it's not something that we're going to see more of. But that one lone example that maybe grades out 65 red or higher will end up being probably one of the most expensive modern-day varieties that we could talk about today. All right, so that is, ladies and gents, your number 3 coin on the list. All right, coming up next here, 1997 Philly Lincoln Memorial Cent FS101 Doubled Die Obverse. This one is affectionately referred to as the Doubled Ear. Kind of piggybacking off of the 1984 Doubled Ear variety that broke out. This one probably has a real shot here at kind of meeting that other coin part way there. Probably most of the way, if I'm going to be absolutely honest. But this one right here, ladies and gentlemen, is a great variety to find. This particular one right here, as far as mintage goes, a lot of them were produced, but not nearly as much as the other 2 coins on the top 3 list at 4.6 billion coins produced. So if you want to look at the doubled ear on this one, it is not as nearly as crazy as the 84, but you also have a really doubled earlobe on this one that's still attached to the ear. It's not like the 84 where you see it completely separated right on the kind of the hairline of Lincoln's, whatchamacallit. But this one right here, this is what you're going to look out for. You're going to look for that doubled earlobe, which makes up the FS101 variety. And this particular coin right here, I would say in the highest grades, definitely do grade them. We've seen raw examples sell on like eBay that don't look particularly great. They sold for right around $50 to $75, and if you just need an example of that, that's perfectly fine. But these are coins that once you begin to hit mid-state and you hit the numerical grades that really matter, so anything like maybe 63, 64 and higher in full red, man, these things are destined to blow up in the marketplace. And again, it's that kind of like that significant tie-in to the doubled ear variety of the 1984, which makes this one a perennial superstar for cherry pickers and roll hunters alike. So keep this one in tow, keep this one in the back of your head, in your mind, that this is going to be one that I would say, give it a little while, and we're going to see the market really move on this one. Now, speaking of market movements, the next and final coin, the number 1 coin on the list, has got to be the 1994 Doubled Die Reverse FS801. Boy, we've been talking about this one here quite extensively over the last 2 weeks, and that's only because that there have been a few examples that have shown up on eBay and on great collections, and it's giving us a lot of content to talk about here. This particular one, I feel like, is going to be probably the first breakout star. Not nearly as crazy as the 1983 FS801, which is, again, I'm just going to throw this out there, the biggest double to die reverse that you could ever encounter in the Lincoln Set series. This one right here is a top three, I would say, in DDRs. And not throwing any shade to like the 1966 FS801 or the 64 FS801. Those are spectacular double to die reverses in their own right, but we got to give its flowers to the 94 DDR. And this one right here is quite spectacular. You're going to notice some doubling of the columns on the memorial on that reverse. So the last two empty bays on those columns, you're going to see doubled columns in there. And that is, ladies and gents, what we're looking for. We've seen a few raw examples that probably grade out maybe AU that have sold in the $60 to $80 range on eBay. And there have been a few examples. Now, it probably served them a little bit better, both sellers and buyers. I did talk and kind of really promoted this one, as being the next big thing. And I firmly believe that too. And kind of where the key to this one is that, they're not overly made, they're not plentiful, and they're not rare either. It's kind of like this balanced mix of rarity and availability. If you wanted to go and buy one today, probably if there's none on eBay right now, check back in a week, and I guarantee you there'll probably be one in there. Grade's not guaranteed. This is a coin where 6.5 billion were produced, so there's bound to be more of them that have gone unchecked. There's probably BU rolls out there that might have a few of these hiding in there. But kind of like where the biggest amount of value in the 94 FS801 are going to be those nice mid-state red gem coins. And again, anything 63 and higher are going to be key here. Here is actually an example that's sold just over the weekend. A mid-state 68 red FS801. This is a top pop coin. I love it when you have the coin and the variety in question, and it's all emblazoned right on the label. So this is really cool, and I love seeing things like this. The amount of preparation that goes into the presentation of the coin and the sale coming up, really fascinated me. And to the point where this one ended up selling for like $50 shy of $8,000 just over the weekend. Look at that, April 20, 2025 on greatcollections.com. A huge sale, nearly $8,000 for this coin. Now, could this thing be blowing up right now? It feels kind of like it's blowing up right now. But again, I think where some of the opportunity is going to be in some of those raw coins that you could pluck off of eBay for between $50 and $100, And I'm not saying that these things are going to turn into, say, the 83 DDR, where it's going to be $200, $250 in a matter of months. We're talking about two coins that have, kind of like different nuances. The FS80183, of course, has doubling that is unrivaled and unparalleled in the hobby today. So that's worth noting. It's like trying to compare the 1916 DDO Buffalo Nickel to say this coin right here. It's like, one has been around for a while. People know about it. It's the strongest double to die that you'll find on a nickel. And, it's a coin that's going to continue to live in this dynasty of, just various, high dollar kind of pitch coins. And that's where we're at there. The 94 is just going to be a coin that'll take time. But, judging from what we've seen on completed auction sales, this thing might be kind of like starting to move in that direction where, we just can't ignore it any longer. All right, so that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this top 3 1990s Lincoln Cent varieties that are going to be breaking out at some point or destined to break out. I'm not saying that will be, as of course, this is all educational use only, not financial advice. Please collect and or grade your coins responsibly. That's important. Thank you guys again for watching. I am your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. come join us on the next Whatnot show. And if you guys are going to be looking for these coins, hunting, I wish you guys nothing but success. And I hope you guys do find these, because I want to know about your successes in finding these. They are beautiful varieties, and I would personally be happier than a pig in you know what finding any of these and adding them to my collection. So you guys take care, happy hunting, and I will see you on the next coin video. So long.